Tonight, negotiators are racing to revive peace talks between the United States and Iran, hoping to take the advantage of what is a lull in the fighting after several days of the two countries trading strikes the last couple of days. Now, this is a big task for the mediators who are now in Tehran from the Qatari government, as President Trump again declared the ceasefire with Iran over. Iran's top negotiator said that their country is ready to mount an all-out defense if necessary. These recent attacks that we've seen going on have also led to a big decrease in traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, and that means a rise in global fuel prices. A senior U.S. official says tonight that they are working on correcting that, telling CNN that they're hoping to get Iran to publicly say that yes, the Strait of Hormuz is open, and yes, all commercial vessels can go through it and they won't be attacked. Now, it remains to be seen if Iran actually does that. That's what the United States is hoping. But the message that came through from these U.S. officials tonight is that right now, nuclear talks aren't really possible if Iran is threatening this key waterway. And when it comes to the president's red line in these talks, which is Iran's nuclear ambitions, there's other bad news. That's because exclusive satellite imagery that was obtained by CNN shows that Iran may be attempting to rebuild its nuclear facilities. My source tonight is the former U.S. ambassador to Qatar, Timmy Davis, and thank you, sir, for being here. I mean, just obviously, you have so much experience in this area. The Qatari government and the mediators are trying, to put themselves in this and try to get some agreement between the two sides here. Right now, a senior official, U.S. official, told reporters today, I would give them, meaning Iran, an F or at least a D- on keeping their end of the bargain when it comes to this MOU. Does that surprise you at all?
It doesn't surprise me. Certainly doesn't surprise me that from the administration standpoint, Iran isn't keeping up their end of the bargain. But you have to understand that the Iranians are in a place where there's a deficit of trust for them in these negotiations. One side takes acts like the Iranians did against Qatari vessels, attacks them, and then the United States hits 80 targets and then 90 targets. This has been called a ceasefire since day one, but in fact, it's been violated pretty much every 5 days or so. And so when you declare the MOU dead and go right back into negotiations, when you declare the ceasefire over and then want the Iranians to say the Strait of Hormuz is open, in reality, the only thing that needs to be paid attention to is dialogue, is the conversation. That's the only thing that appears to really have any standing or foundation here.
I mean, some people might look at this and say, can you really get these talks back on board if they've been bombing each other for the last, 48, 72 hours? And even if the U.S. thinking is that Iran fired on these ships, it was hardliners trying to undermine the deal. I mean, those hardliners are still running Iran right now.
No, that's absolutely right. We're going to have to decide who it is we're negotiating with. The theocracy is seeming lying down, and the IRGC is rising up. And so I think we would do well to decide that the people that we need to negotiate with are the people who are running Iran. The truth is that, whatever Iran is doing, whatever hardliners are doing, to your point, those are the folks that are driving Iran forward today. And so there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of rhetoric about who's doing what, but the fact that immediately both sides went back into dialogue, that the Qataris showed up in Tehran to make sure that the Iranians were keeping somewhat of a level head, means that there's still a possibility to get to a deal here. Likely that deal isn't going to be a good one for either side ultimately, but I think the region wants to get to work on whatever comes after this conflict.
What does that look like, do you think? Because, I mean, in terms of the MOU, which the president says is dead, basically at this point, the ceasefire that came with it, I mean, that put the end date kind of at mid-August of getting to a deal. We're now 3 weeks past that MOU, almost a month. It would not seem like there was a deal anywhere close to materializing here.
Yeah, I would not put a great deal of stock into any sort of set deadline. We've seen deadlines come and seen them go. The MOU being dead, look, I think from the beginning, the MOU was more a suggestion than it was a roadmap. What comes out of the end of this at some point when this conflict is over, likely will have some of the elements of the MOU, but also likely will be the best deal that was available on the day they got through negotiations.
Well, and I mean, looking at it, we had this background briefing with officials today looking at, what they're saying. They did leave open the possibility that no deal is reached and what that looks like if no deal is reached. We're seeing these satellite images that Iran's trying to rebuild its arsenal.
Yeah. And so I would say a couple of things about that. First, it would be utter folly for Iran to believe that they could rebuild any nuclear capacity and that the United States and Israel likely weren't going to retaliate. That's the first thing. The second thing is one has to remember that inside Iran, there is a struggle for power. The IRGC absolutely wants to have control of this country before it gets into any outside deal with the United States. And so it's possible they will just keep this going and keep this going until they feel certain that what's going to happen inside Iran is exactly what they want to have happen. In foreign policy, and particularly with Iran, understanding what's happening domestically is the only way you can understand how to get into some sort of deal internationally.
Yeah. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it with your expertise on the region.
Thanks, Kaitlan.
Great to have you.